Hi, I am Tamika Cheatham, Executive Director at the Craftsmen Guild of Mississippi. I am so excited to introduce to you a new video series called the Crafty View, featuring our prestigious craftsmen. In this series, we will learn about their work, inspiration, and in some cases, watch them demonstrate. We hope you enjoy watching it as much as we enjoy presenting it to you. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And thank you so much for your support. Have a crafty day.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Hey, I'm excited about macrame. It is a passion for me. It gives me the ability to express myself through the use of different strings and knot tying, and I tie lots and lots and lots of knots. So the exciting part about it is being able to take strings and make them into earrings or necklaces, and then you're using different type of stones such as labradorite, opal. It is the stone you think of. You can basically wrap and you can make it yours. You can make rings, and it's just exciting opportunity to just make something into nothing, right? So you see a bunch of strings, you see them laid out, and you have like about at least 100 rows of strings. So what do you do with those rows of strings? You just say, hey, look, I think I'm gonna make a purse. I think I'm gonna make some earrings. I think I'm gonna make, let's see, hairpiece. You know, you can do whatever you want with strings. And not only that, it helps the nature, so you don't be, throwing away all those excess threads and things that you think this is no good, but you just make something out of it. So I am excited about this, and I'm excited to be here.
Oh, we're so excited that you're here. Welcome to the Crafty View, everyone. I'm Diane Williams, the host for the show, and my guest today is Kathleen Makupson. She's a member of the Craftsmen's Guild of Mississippi, and as you can see, she's very excited about what she does. Welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you, Diane. So glad to be here, and thank you for having me.
It's my understanding that you're part of a show that's going on for Black History Month at the Craftsmen's Guild. What is that like for you?
Oh, it's very exciting. It's good to even be a member of the Craftsmen's Guild because it's hard to get in. And then the fact that they like my work and they indoctrinated me in June is just exciting for me. And it's thrilled. When I first went into the Craftsman Center, but 3 years ago, I said, I am going to become a member. And then I found an opportunity to get in. So this is awesome.
Wonderful. You started out talking about your macrame. A lot of people don't know what that is. Help us to know a little bit more. Tell us more about the art form. What we want to know is, okay, when did you start doing this? How did you learn how to do it? Where do you get your ideas from?
Okay, macrame is knot tying. So just tying different knots in different styles and different ways. That's all you do is just tie tons of knots. And I picked this up about 3 years ago because I was basically getting what you call trigger finger. And I wanted to find something to exercise my finger. And then I like, wow, I mean, if I start tying knots, that'll be, and that'll definitely help my finger. So 3 years ago, I started watching, all I've done was YouTube videos from start to finish. But the challenge with YouTube videos, there was no one not that many in English. So all of the videos that I looked at was foreign videos from like Barcelona, Spain, Australia. Lots of Australians do this. So mostly international, Britain, but Britain was English. But the bottom line is China, Japan, but there was hardly any in English. So I had to take these videos and I basically just watched them move their hands. And then I just took some strings and started moving my hands. The first time I learned how to do this, it took me 3 weeks to make one little pair of earrings. So, you know,
Wow.
just watching the movements and just over and over and over, watching YouTube videos, trying to find that movement on how they're making that jewelry and how they're wrapping. They call wrapping jewelry. And you see some of my photos later, but you'll see what the art is just a matter of just all 100% hand movements. But there's not a lot of tools you need. All you need is a clipboard sometime, and you can order what they call the macrame board, where you can use just pins and you just take the strings, line them up, and just start tying them in different ways to make whatever you want.
Tell me about this trigger finger. Is that something like carpal tunnel syndrome?
It is. I went to the doctor, and instead of him giving me an injection and, you know, giving me steroids, I said, well, I don't want that. And most people think like, oh, if you're tying knots, you know, that's gonna make it worse. But it was very painful to actually tie the knots. And if you stop doing it, which I've done for a couple of weeks since I relocated, but if you stop tying it, it will trigger again, where it locks up in place, and you have to pull your finger back, and it's pretty rough feeling. But by tying knots, you continuously moving your hand continuously, and then it works. It kinks its way out. So it's like copper tone. So people think that you know, they can't do it because they have copper tone. It's actually the opposite. You go through the pain of tying the knots, but eventually you loosen up, and then you can, you know, it's just very therapeutic.
Would you recommend this art form for people with maybe arthritis?
Yes, they can try. It'll be painful, but they'll get through it. So a lot of times people will start it and go, "Oh, I can't do this because it hurts." But once you get through it, and then you start exercising your hands, then it's awesome. And then you're making something at the same time. Now it isn't about, oh, like I want to make it because I want to sell it, because that wasn't what I originally uh, came out trying to do. It was more or less like, I want to do something that's gonna help me with my finger locking up. Is my thumb will lock up, or my middle fingers, mostly my left hand. But yes, if you have arthritis, I think it really could help you with your hand. But you got to get through the pain first, and then the art of tying the knots. Then it's exciting.
Well, you mentioned how hard it was for you to find a place or people where you can learn this art form from, and you've had to reach out to the global marketplace
Right.
to find that. So what does that make you think about mentoring? Would you be, not that I'm asking to be mentored, but people want to know, like they might want to learn how to do this. And what are your thoughts about mentoring? Teaching
I love
someone else.
Okay, I'm sorry. I love mentoring. I love people. So the opportunity, if they're willing to learn, because what is intimidating. So once a person start watching me, you know, loop together like a row of like 20 strings. So if you imagine laying one string across like a half micron or like a thread, the size of thread, right? So you imagine laying a thread horizontal, then you're gonna loop different threads like 20 on top of that one thread. You know, you have that tied down, and then you start making things with that thread. People find it intimidating and go like, I don't want to do that. That's crazy. And then, but once they start doing it, and once you actually make something, then you kind of become like addicted to it. So it becomes a passion. And then you just all you want to do is just tie knots. So you go like, oh, all you're doing is just tie knots, tie knots. But it occupies your mind, and it keeps you busy. But at the same time, you're being productive. And I'm that type of person. I don't like to be idle. So if you're like sitting around just watching TV, that's, to me, that's idle. But making something and creating something does not. It takes away the idleness and they always say that when you're idle, you know, the devil's workplace, right? So
Yeah.
I don't be thinking about anything else but tying knots, right? And so there's nothing else to think about other than that. It just takes your mind to a different area. You know, it just gets so into it.
If you were to mentor someone, does it make a difference if you're right-handed and they're left-handed? You know, I know sometimes teaching crochet to someone is harder for a right-handed person to teach a left-handed person. Does that even matter with macrame?
No, with macrame, you steadily just tie knots. So it doesn't matter whether you're left hand or the right hand. You just have to know the steps you need to take to make whatever that you want to make. So it doesn't matter about left hand. It's really simple process. But like I said, it's intimidating because when you're trying to, one thing about videos too, you know, that's why I said it took me like a week or two to make one pair of earrings. You have to, a person be going so fast and they can't see if that person did a loop to the left, a loop to the right. And if anybody ever made a macrame plant hanger, they understand what I'm saying, because the exact same process where you went doing half, double half hitch knots, square knots, and mostly like a lot of square knots when you're making the jewelry. So it's the same thing, but they use bigger ropes, 5mm ropes, 4mm ropes to make those plant hangers or things that you may see.
So these knots, they're not just knots. You name some names for certain types of knots. That shows your expertise in that area, because there's more to learn than just tying knots when you learn a certain
Right,
type
different
of
kind.
knots, the methodology behind it. Very good, very good. You know, there may be some teachers listening into the show. And so I'm going to try to ask a question that I think a teacher would ask, because teachers love to incorporate art into their curriculum. Is there math involved?
There is no math involved with it. Well, with macrame, you have to know how long the string should be, right? So there is a formula, but I don't use the formula. What I use is my width. Like if I know I'm gonna make I also make plant hangers, so I don't not only make jewelry, so I do all of the macrame things. So they'll say like, I can use my arm length. Then I know that, hey, that my full arm length of 25 pieces of string will make this earring. So you just have to figure it out. And no, not much math. It's just a matter of when you run out of rope or when you run out of string, it's like, oops. But there is a formula out there, and that's something that for those math geniuses, they can figure out how much string they need for the entire project. Because if you look at a rope up, say, I would say about 120 inches. This is a lot. So 120 inches is a lot, but you're cutting about 30, 120-inch ropes of strings, right? That's kind of intimidating. You got them all over the place. You got to tie them together so they don't get all tied up themselves. But then again, if you know you have to make a purse and you know exactly how many knots you need to tie, then you know the exact formula. Because when you tie a rope, you want something to be a certain length, then you can do the math to determine, once I tie that rope, how many inches is an actual square knot, right? And you can go from there and create what you're talking about.
So do you use different materials for different projects? So for a purse versus earrings, would you use different
Right.
materials?
Yes, I actually have used what they call scrap t-shirt material, to make a purse. And I've used like wax polyester thread to make earrings. I like using wax polyester thread. And you can use just regular nylon thread. So all of those things you can use to basically do whatever project you're doing. So if I'm making a purse, of course, I have to use like 3mm type size ropes. If I'm making a plant hanger, I have to use like 5mm. If I'm making a wall, like you actually can make chairs. So that was one of my next projects. So you can actually make chairs off a 5mm rope. I haven't made the chair yet, but I've seen the one that I want to make that would take, time, like making a quilt, but it just be tying the square knots to make those, that particular chair. But then again, when you run out, like one thing about it with the wax polyester thread on nylon thread, you can burn those ends. If you're making a pair of earrings, you don't want to use cotton thread because you can't burn cotton thread. So you have to burn your ends when you're making a lot of these things. So you have to know what you're doing. And then with the plant hanger, and I don't know if anybody remember back in the day, I do macrame. They made us do it in school. And they don't do it too much anymore. But that was fun. And I wish, for some of our kids, they can bring back that they make a plant hanger. So once you make a plant hanger, then you go to making earrings. It's a good transition. But you've had I had to have the exposure to macrame that helped me. So from in high school when I had to make those darn plant hangers, and I don't know if anybody remember that, but
I didn't.
my age. My age.
Wow, wow. So I know you're in transition right now as far as where you live and you're
Right.
in the middle of getting settled. So what's going to be your dream space where you're going to do your work?
Well, right now I have a she shed in Madison that I do my work. I have my TV to help me, I can put a video on the TV, but I'm gonna get a bigger she shed out here in the country. I basically have gotten like 39 acres of land that that I purchased, and I'm going like what they call pioneering. So me and my husband were doing RV living, and then we bought we just purchased uh, a mobile home that we're renovating. So we're just doing a lot of that because right now I work for Amazon. I was working for Nissan. So, but that's going to be my idea studio. And then right now, when you look at my jewelry, you may see some stones. And I used to purchase those stones from like online from India, and then one place to make those stones, like I was talking about labradorite, solidite. It's just different type of stones out there. Anyway, I can make my own agates. So I can go buy the raw. I belong to the Mississippi Gem and Mineral Society.
Nice.
And with that group, you can go mining, and then you can cut. I have the ability to cut the stone, to sand the stone, to polish the stone. So we learned all of that. We went to a class. So that's another, a place that I'm a member of. But just do everything from scratch. So all that jewelry, not purchased from anywhere, you do yourself. You take raw rock. You can polish a polished rock. You can wrap rocks. You can wrap whatever you want to. And you can make bracelets. And I talk about, it's just so much you can do with strings. And once you see the photos of some of the things that I've done, you'll see the, make crosses and use beads. It's just amazing.
That sounds amazing. Would you recommend this craft to children? It sounds like fun.
It is fun, and definitely would recommend it for children, and to keep their mind from wondering and like, and then, but in a COVID, you're with the COVID environment in this isolation, because you consuming within yourself. It's different. So you're not focused on anything external. You just want to make something. You want to finish something. So it'd be definitely occupy kids' mind and keep the parent, from worried about where they're going, what they're doing, and how they're dealing with, being isolated from the rest of the world.
Okay.
Because of COVID.
Thank you. During the month of February, we could go over to the Craft Center in the George Berry Gallery and see some of your work. What might we see in that gallery at this time?
Well, they sold quite a bit, but I did add something. So you'll be able to see a necklace. You'll be able to see a bracelet. You'll be able to see earrings. They, in a case, and that's basically what I have over in the gallery.
Wonderful.
I don't have any big objects, just smaller.
And after this video, we're going to see some of your artwork. Wonderful. We're going to look at it separately because it's awesome. You mentioned that you applied to the Craftsmen's Guild 3 years ago. Does that mean you're coming up upon standard reapplication this year? Or did you already?
No. No, when I went to the Craft Center, I said I want to become a member. So when I started making my jewelry, I just presented it one time and became a member. So I presented it I think it was February, and then I became a member in June. So I never applied before, so that's my very first time. So I don't have to worry about reapplying for another 3 years. So I just became a member last June. But I had my mind up that I'm looking at the quilts, and I saw pottery, and I'm the type person with like, well, they have all that. They have pottery, and I do a little bit of pottery too, because I make Martin Luther King head busts and Obama head busts. But it's like a lot of that there. So I say, well, what can I do? Well, I also said, what can I do differently? And then that's when the macrame came up. But then I said, what about my hands? You know, I'm getting this trigger finger. And when I found out doing it, it worked out just fine. It wasn't even an issue. So that's when I made these pieces. I went to the Village Bees, and the guy in Village Bees said, whoa, this is some good stuff, you know, you're making, right? Because I was going to make when I make the earrings, I was going to also try to make the wire piece from scratch. So everything's like from scratch, right? The earring piece, the whole works. And he said, I'm a member of, and I forgot the guy's name, but he said, I'm a member of the Crafts Center. Why don't you try to become a member? And that's when I went over there, and I was like, okay, you know, because I seen it, but I didn't know really what to present. I didn't want to be like everybody else. So I said, okay, this is different. Nobody's like this. But if you have to be patient, because if I say it take you 2 weeks to make a pair of earrings, that took a lot of patience for me to make some things, throw it away. So this doesn't look right. I missed the knot, right? Because while you're doing knot tying, you miss a knot, you got to take it apart. And that's even when you make your plant hangers, you see that, oh my goodness, I missed those. You know, I missed tying this string together, and you know, take things apart. It just drive you nuts. But just be patient, and you'll be amazed at what you can learn and what you can do.
Yeah, because the finished product, you know, is something you can be proud of, something that people will enjoy looking at.
Right.
Oh, it's so wonderful. Now, I always love trendsetters. And when I say that, people that are not just doing the everyday things, but looking along the horizon to see what's out there and what you can offer, what you could bring to the table. And with that said, is there anything that you do that's unique to you? Like a certain stitch, knot, or something like that?
Well, I mean, I the thing about it, I don't recreate knots, but what's unique is I had this guy from there's different wrappings that you can do with stones and make sure the stones set into your jewelry. And there was a guy from, I think it was Barcelona. I think I mentioned Barcelona. He has a different technique, so on how he do things. But as I'm wrapping, I do things as I go, and I may do a different knot, but it's not, I don't have a name for it. Okay. You know, I just know, hey, I'm a try this knot, and I can create a name for a different type of knot, you know, because when you're watching videos, you don't specifically always follow the guidelines. You say, well, you know, it's not perfect. So then you got to deviate. So, okay, well, I can't do what he just did because I done made this type of knot versus that type of knot. So what do you do? So you start creating your own version of things. And yes, and different style necklaces. And so I'm not specifically doing exactly what they're doing. I mean, I do the basics, like the format, but then I go and change it because I was like, I'm tired of watching this video. I'm just gonna do my own thing, you know, with it.
I think that's wonderful. And the thing that drives us to becoming master artists is, you know, we can't be afraid of making mistakes and then seeing what journey that takes us on to create something new. I love that about you. I really do. Have you ever heard of the John C. Campbell Folk Art School or Penland, where people can go and take adult enrichment courses, either learn more about their own art form that they're doing or a brand new art form, or how to employ another art form into their technique? Have you ever heard of anything like that?
Never heard of it at all. Never heard of it.
What do you think about something like that coming to the Craft Center in Mississippi, where it happens all the time, all year?
Oh, that would be great. I mean, I think I met a guy who is only a mile away from the Craft Center, and he said, "Oh, I've never been over there before." I said, "Okay, that's interesting." So yes, I think if the Craft Center started introducing different techniques, different things, more people would go to the Craft Center and realize that's a place where they can learn different things, the things that they may like. But right now you have a lot of people, just certain groups of people just like, I'm not going to Craft Center. There's nothing over there that I want. So people are not even as crafty. And I would say this because they're into the video world as generation. I said the Generation X and Generation X. They're just not into that. They don't want to be bothered with that. But once you get them involved with it, then they'll see a different way of doing things. Like my son, my son was making, he make beaded bracelets, but now he's doing looming. And he's a school teacher. And he said, Mom, it's just so weird. He's like 31. I go and I look for yarn and they look at me like I'm crazy. He's like, all the ladies go like, what is he doing here? Is he a freak? No, he just said it's weird. So he's taking up the art. He's like, hey, I want to do macrame, but first now he's just doing the looming piece, which he makes wonderful scarves. I'm like, holy cow. So he's doing a lot better than me, but I know eventually he'll take a macrame and do that. But just introduced that. He was a gamer. So now he's addicted to looming. He's like, holy cow. I said, you know, I said, okay, they see you coming. Big, tall, black guy saying, can I have some yarn? What? But you need yarn, but you gonna tie somebody up? So no. So I'm just saying, you know, I'm just saying we don't have enough African Americans or different anybody doing anything different. They just, and I think they want something, but you got to introduce it to them. Then they want to do it. Because when I was working on some of my art, one of the girls like, oh man, I love to learn how to do that. I love to learn how. So you got to kind of push it out there in front of them. And I think we don't do a lot of pushing things in our community, different craft things. And we got to take it to the community, number one, and then they'll come. But you ask them to come to Ridgeland or to Pearl, you may not get that kind of interaction. You got to make it enticing. You got to offer something to get the guys in there so they can start doing some of these things.
That's such a good point. We may have to take it to the community. Excellent, excellent. If someone wanted to get in touch with you, tell us the multiple social media or contacts that they can reach you, you know, your email address, whatever you want to share with us, or social media websites. Tell us about that.
Yes, you can reach me, and I'm called Knots My Thing. That's KNOTS MY thing, Knots My Thing, at yahoo.com or www.knotsmything.com. So everything's in Knots My Thing. So that's the name of my business. And it's kind of cool because it's just a different type of slogan, because Knots is my thing, but you know.
Yes. And are you on Facebook?
I'm on Facebook, so you can go on Facebook and type in Knots My Thing. So everything's Knots My Thing. So if you were to just type in Knots My, if you were to Google Knots My Thing, I'm gonna come up all over the place. That's KNOTS My Thing, not things, my thing. Knots My Thing. Okay.
Without the S on the end. Excellent.
Right.
This has been a joy talking with you. Thank you so much for sharing your art form with us today. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And I hope the people enjoyed this. Tune in again for the Crafty View.
Thank you, Diane. Bye.
Bye.